Romance. It's the genre of love. People love to love it, people love to hate it, and people, we meet on vacation. Here's what's going on. Valentine's Day, by the time this video comes out, is probably tomorrow, or yesterday, or last week. Also, school is insane and the weather is terrible right now, so I need a little vacation. And on top of all of that, my girlfriend has kindly pre-ordered me Haley Pham's book that is coming out in March, but I am not well versed enough in the genre of romance to give it a valid review. Put all of that together and I have every reason to read People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, something of a staple in the contemporary romance genre. I've never really been a romance reader. I would never say it's one of my favorite genres, so that's why I'm going into this with a mind as open as I can get it. I'm going to use this book to become a master of romance, more so than I already am anyway. And with that, I will have a fantastic Valentine's Day, I'll have a break from this gloomy February, and I will be able to read Haley Pham's book the way that it was meant to be read. So without further ado, let's start this book. Let's read. Maybe I was blinded by the excitement of a new genre, but what the heck was that? They're strictly friends, but they're like hugging up on each other and saying I love you, just sticking her little head in his chest, and they're taking photos together. And they're talking about how he just broke up with his girlfriend. I'm like, well, if I were his girlfriend, I'd be a little insecure about this too. We don't know if that's why they broke up, but already kind of questioning the relationship that's unfolding in this book, and that's the entire book here. I remain optimistic. Yeah, we'll see later on what this book has to say about the difference between platonic and romantic love. I'm just a little worried that I'm not going to agree with those definitions, but that's okay. So what do we know about her so far in the present day? She only works in the office 1 day a week, and her job is to make a list of places to travel to, and then show that list to other people. I think I gotta suspend my disbelief more than I'm doing. That's what fiction's for, isn't it? What am I talking about? So immediately there's a little bit of intergenerational culture shock. I don't know if I've ever read a book with a millennial narrator that is so open about being a millennial. And it's totally okay and normal to be a millennial, of course. I just had to get used to hearing about it so much. I don't know if this term was coined by Emily Henry herself, but she brings up millennial ennui when the main character is talking to her best friend about the despair of all your dreams coming true. It's a self-aware-ish conversation about first world problems and that awkward stage of Maslow's hierarchy of needs where you've almost hit self-actualization. And honestly, that's great. There's so many books about trying to achieve these bottom steps, and it seems to be very difficult to write a compelling story about struggling to achieve this top one. In a perfect world, each step of the way to self-actualization is a part of the human experience, and even this last part deserves its recognition. So to summarize what this book is about at the beginning, Poppy Wright is a millennial who loves to travel and for a long time has kept a travel blog about it. For 10 years straight, she went on an annual summer trip with her friend Alex Nilsson, who she met in college. But this tradition was broken 2 years ago when something happened. We don't know what. Now she's just working her dream job, which pays her to travel and stay in luxurious places and write about it. But something is missing, and that something is her best friend. Aww. So her goal here is to get back in touch with him, reconcile things, and go on one last summer trip that will fix their friendship and fix her entire life. Boom, self-actualization achieved. But it can't be that easy, can it? Let's read some more. I'm outside right now. Let's freaking read. There are a lot of lines in here that get a little chuckle out of me. Like, okay, that's kind of funny. That's kind of cute, you know. Got a little flashback from 7 summers ago where they're in New Orleans, and they kind of have like a little bit for every trip they go on, and they're like, let's come up with alter egos. They're trying all the local stuff. They're having fun. It's cute. The only problem is, why can't they just be together already? Like, they're acting like they are, quite honestly. So they're talking about, and this is in the present now, this girl that Alex has dated off and on, and they've broken up twice, but they're kind of back together, but not really. Poppy's like, you shouldn't marry her because she takes you for granted, but then she's thinking in her head, if you marry her, I'll lose all of you forever. actually, probably no matter who you marry, I'll have to lose you forever. And I'm like, what difference does marriage make? So you're like fully aware that it's disrespectful to a current relationship to be on this trip with him. If he were married to somebody, then it wouldn't be okay anymore, but since he's just dating somebody, it's fine. I'm not a big fan of that outlook. Cheating doesn't have to just be physical. Going on a semi-romantic vacation and like holding hands, he's got a little back spasm, which I relate to heavily. I had that last summer and it was rough. Every single time she has to like touch him for any reason, like helping him lay down, she's like, oh my gosh, I gotta stop thinking about it because this is so hot. She's been in relationships, he's been in relationships, and she's still like thinking about him this way this entire time. I don't know, man. There's not really a book if they are already dating. Like, I have to remind myself that these people are not in a relationship right now. Actually, the book has to remind me every so often. They're just friends. But why? That does not add up. Like, friends to lovers obviously makes sense, but when you're doing lovers activities with your friend, you're kind of already there. No need to stretch it out over 12 years. But I'm along for the ride. Like, I'm entertained. I wanna see where this goes. I wanna see what cute little things they'll do on their little vacation together. Oh yeah, he just kissed her on the head. So like, imagine this. She says to him, I don't want you to marry Sarah because she takes you for granted. I don't want you to marry her because she never liked me. I know that's so selfish, but it's not just that. I really think you can do better. Sarah will be great for someone, but not for you. She doesn't like karaoke, Alex. She says that last little sentence kind of teary-eyed. He hugs her, pulls her down into him like this, and then lands a freaking kiss on her head. I'm sorry. Poor Sarah, right? Like, there's a lot I don't know about their relationship, but like, imagine you're Sarah. Your boyfriend is on a trip, a 5-day trip with this girl that he's been friends with for 12 years. They're in their hotel room together, and she just told him not to marry you, and the way he reacted was by hugging and kissing her. I'm on Sarah's side so far. I have been given no evidence that she deserves this. So hashtag Team Sarah. That's what team I'm on. Okay, I better go inside. So pretty much for the past 12 years, these two people have been in love with each other. The two of them not dating is honestly just a detriment to so many people. To me, to themselves, to the various partners that each of them have over the years. Look, I think friends to lovers is the best way for a relationship to start. I should know. But in this case, these two people don't even seem to really have any other friends. Definitely no other friends that they are hugging and kissing and saying I love you with. Like, they're already kind of exclusive, but they're just not putting a title on it. And this goes on for 12 years. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And the only thing that's stopping them from getting together is that they're too different. Girl, that is the love of your life. At least try. Have that difficult conversation. I do not like this extended period of them not acknowledging their love for each other because they have this fear of ruining their friendship, and it's honestly ridiculous. But I am going to keep reading because I'm very invested now, and I do need to see them get together. They addressed it a little bit. So Alex is telling her that his girlfriend feels weird about the summer trip. And then she's like, of course she does, I would too. It's a simultaneous they will and they won't. There was a whole scene where they were talking about his Tinder profile and trying to fix it. And then at the end of it, they just decide, yeah, I would swipe right on you. So what the heck? Not in a like supportive like, bro, I would swipe right on you, you're a catch. She genuinely passes him her phone and is like, you would not swipe right on me. So straight up with me right now. And he takes his time, he looks at it, he reads the whole bio, he looks at everything, and he looks her in the eyes, pauses, and is like, I would. I really would. And then she's like, oh, I got butterflies. You're already in love, bro. Duh. Just friends. Yeah, whatever. Now, my perception of this book and the genre as a whole shifted a lot throughout my reading experience. At the beginning, like most outsiders of the romance genre, I was expecting just a little lighthearted, entertaining story that wouldn't carry too much weight or try to say too many things about anything. And for a good chunk of it, I thought I was right. But as I was getting into the last third of the book, it dawned on me that the characters felt real. Not the part where they refuse to acknowledge their feelings for each other for 12 years, but all of the details that you get about their lives, the voice that comes through the writing. I've never read anything else by Emily Henry, of course, so maybe all of her narrators sound the same, but Poppy Wright has a distinct personality, as does Alex Nilsson. Do they annoy me sometimes in the things they say and do? Yes, but that's kind of what makes them real. By the end of this book, I felt like I was catching up with some college acquaintances in a bar in their hometown, and they were telling me about how they fell in love. Like, these are people who exist in the world in which I exist, and they are facing dilemmas that I may also be facing. It's all rooted in reality as I know it, and that is special. It gives this book the ability to talk about themes rooted in the real world that a life or death, gritty fantasy something or other would never have the time or interest to go into. Anyway, I read the last quarter of this book in one sitting, and I had a lot of thoughts after I was done, so let's see what I had to say. Wow. Let me just say first, I just read for I think an hour and a half straight, and that was just about the easiest hour and a half of reading I've done in quite some time. And by easy, I mean most enjoyable. I did not have to force myself to do it. I was absolutely hooked. There were definitely moments where I was like, that was cringe to an unforgivable level, but by the end of it, it was all forgivable, okay? You finally find out why it is called People We Meet on Vacation. Yeah, you can kind of tell why it's called People We Meet on Vacation at the beginning, but there's a really specific reason why it's called People We Meet on Vacation. It actually speaks to the main character's main flaws and what she's going through, what she's trying to overcome during this book. There wasn't a lot of that at the beginning, but it really all does come full circle. I did not have faith in this actually being a compelling story, but by the end, these two characters do actually have their own arcs. They are actually figuring out real problems. By the end, their relationship does seem more real and nuanced. I'm still not a fan of their behavior, being just friends for 12 years, going on all these trips together while having different partners and whatnot. It's really just a story about denying your true feelings. I don't know how that could happen for 12 years straight, but because honestly they did know the whole time, and it really comes down to, it did start as a friendship all the way at the beginning, and it was the perfect friendship, especially with the main character fighting the battle of being lonely. Obviously she does not want to ruin this perfect friendship. So from that angle, I get it. So yeah, they both had something to lose in risking the friendship. For Poppy, it is, Alex is the one person where she feels like she is not truly alone. Losing that would be like losing everything. For Alex, there was a part I really liked actually, where he was talking about how he didn't feel like he knew himself until he knew Poppy. He didn't allow himself to figure out his personality until somebody was interested enough to ask him about it, which is kind of sad and a very common man problem, I think. I feel like there's a culture that we live in where you have to be locked in all the time, sometimes at the expense of your identity, yourself, your personality. You start to think more about the things that you've done rather than the character traits you've developed, the relationships you've built. And so if nobody specifically asks you about those things, it can be really easy to fall into the trap of, I don't need to know myself because I know my trajectory, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. That was a very cool theme to touch on. Meeting a good friend, meeting a significant other. You learn a lot about another person, but you learn even more about yourself. I like that a lot. I really did. I'll be honest, I was cynical going into it. If you can look past a few cringe moments, and if you can give this a genuine chance, and if you want to think about themes of loneliness, friendship, and love, and what it means to love someone in a platonic way, in a romantic way, you might not agree with what this book has to say about it. I don't think I fully do, but you will still gain something from reading it and engaging with it. I like how this book does say something about how freely you should love people, how freely you should give out love. That is hard for a lot of people. It's hard for me. Spoiler warning here. I'm going to talk about the ending of the book a little bit. It's called People We Meet on Vacation because Poppy realizes that she starts this new job at this magazine where she gets to travel for work all the time, going to these fancy places, these really expensive restaurants, writing an article about it, coming straight back home. On paper, it's like the most magical, perfect vacation you can think of, but she is not feeling fulfilled at all. And at the beginning of this book, I was like, have some decency, enjoy this life that's been given to you. But you gotta feel for the girl, you know? It's not the novelty of the places that she goes that is what makes vacation special to her. It is about the people that she meets on vacation. And it's about Alex, obviously, but it's also about finally not feeling lonely for once, going out in the world, outside of the town that she grew up in, where she felt judged and isolated and lonely, and to these places where she is new, she is anonymous, she can interact with people as her true self and not have a fear that if something goes wrong, she will be stuck there and judged that way forever. It's a whole new onset of confidence that she is the person that she wants to be, and she has the capability of connecting with people. That's dang relatable in this day and age, I feel like. Like at the beginning I was like, oh, they're influencers. What the heck is this book? This is so cringe. You can't write a book about influencers. But modern problems require modern media. You know, it's very difficult to capture the feeling of being isolated while so connected on the internet without mentioning the internet. While I've like discounted this genre of things set just in the modern age with all of the devices, all of the internet, all of the connection, all of the lingo, everything, like it just feels so weird to read about that in a book. By the end of this, I appreciate that so much because there are so many things that I haven't read about in books that need to be read about in book form. It's such a weird thing that we are so connected and so isolated. I was in my feels about it at the end there. So what started for me as like, oh, these are just a bunch of entitled millennials who have the means to travel the globe and they're not appreciating it the right way, it has ended up being relatable and worthwhile. Obviously, there is a lot of privilege that these characters have that I also share. So this book is obviously not for everyone. Star rating. I finished the book. I gotta like, I'm thinking 4. I'm thinking 4 stars. I'm thinking 4 stars, and that's crazy. I was not expecting a rating above like 2 stars. I thought that this would just be a slop fest. There's some slop in here. It was genuinely a great reading experience, and I would do it again. 4 stars. I'm not gonna give it the full 5 because there are those cringe moments that I just cannot forgive that much. I'll be honest, I was a hater of this genre before reading this. The hate is not necessary. Obviously, there are going to be books in any genre that are just complete trash and were only written to be written with no thought behind them. This book definitely had passion in it. Having said all of that, I'm going to find this one terrible, unforgivable moment. When Alex's mom died in childbirth, Alex's dad went full, extremely sad, could not take care of his kids anymore. Then Alex had to take on that role to like raise his brothers. Alex's grandma, his mom's mom, just recently passed away. Alex's dad comes up to them while they're at the wedding, and then this is how the conversation goes. Hi, Mr. Nilsson. Oh, please, he says, you're not a kid anymore, you can call me Ed. And she says, what the hell, you can call me Ed too, which I think that's funny. Alex explains that she's joking because Ed is like a whole freaking old man. Poppy's like, sorry about Betty, she was an amazing woman. And then he gets all sad and he's like, she was a rock to our family, just like her daughter. And then he starts crying. And then he says, not sure how we're gonna get by without her this weekend. And Poppy feels sympathy for him, first of all. But then she starts to get mad because she's like, you know what? You did this once. And then Alex had to sacrifice his whole life and personality to take care of this family. And so then she says, but you will get through it because your son's getting married and he needs you. Like, shoot. And then he just like walks away. Poppy says, Alex, I'm sorry, I just made that weird, sorry. And then this is the worst line in the whole book. No. He slips his hand back into mine. Actually, I think I just developed a fetish that's specifically you delivering hard truths to my father. And then she says, in that case, I say, let's go have some words with him about that mustache. Oh, they say a couple more freaky things to end the chapter off there. I had a physical reaction to reading that. I just could not deal. Few bits of dialogue in there that I can't really stand, but the moments where they're really talking to each other, I like that. I feel like the conversations kind of made enough sense. I'm sure this is very edited down. I've been talking for 24 minutes at this point. You can't just do that about any book. So, 4 stars for Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation. Post-game interview. Done. So a lot of parts of this book did make me mad and did cringe me out a little bit, but I really did enjoy myself. And I feel like I get this genre as a whole a lot better now. So prepare yourselves for a Just Friends review as soon as I get my hands on it. In the meantime, I'd recommend that you watch this video where I swap books with my girlfriend Julia. It's cute. You'll like it. Make sure you subscribe so we can hit 10K by the end of my junior year. Thanks for liking and commenting and all the good things. Okay, bye.